Yo, this the O.G to the E, alias Jimmy motherfucking B. Now I'm gonna read you a book that I wrote on the assassination, similar to the Tupac assassination of Princess Diana. Now I'm gonna read you a book. I haven't published it yet, but this book's similar to the Tupac one. It's got pictures that cover the timeline in which I'm writing it. So, with a death, obviously the night of the death got pictures, which time, early in the afternoon to late at night when she was killed, and got pictures timeline leading up to that tragic night on the 31st of August 1997. So the pictures will be in the book. Here's an audio book that I'm going to write. I might describe the pictures as I'm going along. So let's just get started with this. Chapter 1, August 31st. The day on August 31st marked the most saddest day in British history. The death of the most famous woman, not just in Britain, but in the motherfucking world. Every step Diana made throughout the day was covered by the media, the paparazzi. She was not just a princess of Wales, but a global treasure and a saviour. Yeah. Here's a picture of Princess Diana, 94 I think it is. She was beyond the fame and power of the royal family and only got stronger and bigger when she departed from the royal family in 1996. She was the most watched and beyond fame and power of the royal family and only got stronger and bigger when she departed from the royal family in 1996. She was the most watched and famous woman in the world. The way she was heading, she would have made a big changes she already made before her death. Sorry. We all die. August 31st in the early morning, reports her death spread everywhere throughout the news. It was always a story being shown across the news for weeks. And on after 1 a.m. on a cold Sunday morning in Paris, Diana was involved in a tragic car crash in a tunnel on the main road in Paris. She was pronounced dead at 3:30 a.m. Quickly, the media, her death was explained as a tragic car crash, a result of the driver driving a black Mercedes being very drunk and causing the crash. You see the ripped up Mercedes Benz there, man. All shattered to fuck after it got crashed. That was what I thought it was at first. Her funeral probably was one of the biggest funerals ever to be broadcasted on TV on September 14th, 1997. Her death, as reported everywhere throughout the media, was a result of a fatal car crash, which was caused by an intoxicated driver. But not all information, as we know, is true, and this book will explain that Diana's death was not just a typical fucking car crash committed by a drunk up fucking driver, but a well orchestrated assassination pulled out by the royal family. She was once part of the higher ups of the case leading up to Diana's death. Shows her happy on a nice holiday in a Mediterranean cruise with her new boyfriend Jodie Fayada. Here's a picture of her on the yacht on the holiday with Jodie Fayad, and that's a picture of her entering the hotel. That's coming back to the hotel. She was in there before. Came back at returned at 5 to 10 because she wanted to go to a restaurant somewhere, but there's too much paparazzi, so I didn't need to go back to the hotel and eat. About 12:30 a.m. Diana with Jodie and her bodyguard Trevor Lee Jones left the Ritz Hotel to get into a black Mercedes S280 to head towards Jodie's flat in Paris. Then as they got in the car, the driver Henry Paul sped off to shake off the paparazzi on scooters. About 5 minutes later, they shake them off. As they were heading towards the tunnel, as they got into the tunnel, behind them were paparazzi on motorbikes, followed by a white Nissan. The driver, Henry Paul, was drunk, lost control, and hit the pillar. It was a terrible crash. Whole Mercedes smashed to pieces. Diana's boyfriend, Jodie, died instantly, and the driver was critically injured. as well as Princess Diana Rees-Jones, appeared to have minor injuries. The ambulance arrived straight away about 12:50 a.m. When the paramedics got there, Diana was alive but in critical condition. They put her in the ambulance where they checked her condition. Then 15 minutes later, the ambulance left the tunnel at around 1 a.m. and drove to the hospital and got there by 3 a.m. as according to the doctor in there trying to keep Diana alive before they got to the hospital. They arrived at the hospital, spent 5 minutes outside it doing more checks to save Diana before Diana was rushed into the hospital emergency room, where the doctors tried to save her life, but unfortunately by 4 a.m. in the morning, Princess Diana was pronounced dead due to severe brain hemorrhage. The cause of the crash spread quickly through the media as the driver, Henry Paul, being drunk 10 times over the driving limit as they tested blood samples that day after. Shit, I stuttered in this motherfucker. I hate stuttering when I'm reading. The Queen, Prince Charles, and the royal family arranged Diana's body to be flown back to the UK in a private plane in the afternoon that day. As Diana's body arrived, the media citizens of the UK were quick to mourn her. Diana's death was saddened and shocked the whole of Britain. Didn't shock me. I couldn't give a shit. People were quick to pile tons of flowers outside Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace, where Diana lived at the time. As you'll see, loads of flowers outside the Buckingham Palace. I've never seen so many flowers in my life. She was loved throughout Britain by everybody. It was the biggest event of mourning someone's death ever in British history. All hail. Which, for over a decade, Princess Diana was the most famous and important woman in the world. Her funeral was broadcasted on TV on September 14, 1997, all over the fucking world, being the biggest, most attended funeral show ever on TV. As we go, them stupid fucking bastards dressed up in fucking red with their stupid fucking black wigs on. Don't impress me one damn bit. I'll kick all your damn asses. I've even fucking fought with one of these bastards. I think they're into shit, but they ain't. The motherfuckers that stand outside Buckingham Palace just stood there all day, looking like a fucking zombie. Yeah, you see them with the cortege and the horse with the wheels going through the cortege in the funeral. With the Queen, her former husband, Prince Charles, her children, Prince William and Prince Harry, as well as the rest of the royal family. And Prime Minister Tony Blair and the rest of 10 Downing Street led the way as Diana's coffin was being carted throughout Westminster, London, with thousands of onlookers on the street watching on and millions at home. As Diana's coffin was carted by to Westminster Abbey Church, where Diana finally rests in peace. But the Undertaker came and said that. Rest in peace, Diana. Princess Diana, the world's most famous woman, was dead at 36. Not a bad age. As a result of a car crash in a tunnel. By result of the driver of Mercedes being drunk and losing control of the car before it crashed into the pillar. If you think that's really what happened, then fucking think again. This was more than a drunk driver crash. This was a well-orchestrated assassination planned by the motherfuckers, the Illuminati. This book is going to go into details and evidence to suggest why. Chapter 2. Married to the fucking oath. Diana's early years were not the rich middle-class upbringing which would be typical for people close to the royal family and political parties. She had an infant brother who died when she was 1, and her parents got divorced when she was 8. Although she went to the kind of posh boarding school, there's young Diana with a little hamster. Oh, how sweet. Riddleworth. So her childhood was not like a typical person growing up from a bad background or coming from a bad family. Her childhood was fairly normal. There's Princess Diana, dressed like a prom queen, probably about 13 years old or something. Diana moved to London when she was 17, continued to study at college there as well as getting a part-time jobs. Soon after she came to London, Diana met Prince Charles at a Christmas party. Charles was viewed as a hard partier back in the day and loved doing extreme activities. Prince Charles was attracted to Diana's pretty much from the day of start. From November 1980, Prince Charles and Diana started dating. At that time, Diana got introduced to the royal family, including the Queen and the Queen's mother. Oh, how great. And got accepted in it straight away. On the 24th of February 1981, Prince Charles and Diana got engaged. Oh, how sweet. Look at that. They cuddled up together, Diana in his younger days with that fucking prick Prince Charles. I would just smash his fucking face in, you cunt. Which was proposed by Prince Charles on the 6th of February that month. Soon after, in March, Diana with Prince Charles moved into the Queen Mother's house called the Clarence House. Then in April, they officially moved into Buckingham Palace and started to make plans for their wedding, as well as making public appearances together on TV. Diana's fame started to rise quickly the months leading up to the big wedding. She was going to be the next princess and maybe one day the queen. She was young, pretty, and in 1981 already was one of the most famous women in the world. To becoming the most famous woman in the world, Diana and Prince Charles' wedding finally took place on the 29th of July 1981 and became the most watched major event on British television history. Definitely called the weddings. It was the biggest event. It was a massive event. I remember my mum telling me about it being so big. With thousands in attendance in St Paul's Cathedral in London, including the royal family, prime minister, MPs and celebrities across the country, and millions watching at home. There we go, Diana and Charles getting married, getting carted in their cortege. Diana finally became Princess of Wales and was set for a nice honeymoon straight after with her new husband Prince Charles. They started their honeymoon at a Mountbatten family home in Broadfield, Hampshire. There they are in Broadfield, Hampshire, looking very happy in the early days. Then they fly to Gibraltar to join the royal yacht HMY Britannia for a 12-day cruise through the Mediterranean to Egypt, also visiting Tunisia, Sardinia, and Greece. There they are on the cruise, looking over at the ocean, living the life. While they were on the honeymoon, Prince Charles was still in touch with his ex-lover, Camilla Parker Bowles, who Prince Charles was dating years before he met Princess Diana. As the honeymoon came to an end after they settled in their new home in Kensington Palace at the Highgrove House at nearby Tetbury, this would be Diana's residence till her death. Another big move happened in Diana and Charles's relationship. In November 5th, 1981, Diana's pregnancy was announced and she was about to have her first child as well as Charles's first child. There they are holding baby Prince William, fuck him, which would be the next generation in the royal family. Diana was now a member of the royal family. To her death now she would be a mother of a kid born into the royal family. They'd named the child William, and William, now known as Prince William, was born on the 21st of June 1982. 2 years later, Charles and Diana gave birth to their second child, named Prince fucking Harry. Another fucking silver spoon cant. Now known as Prince Harry, who was born on September 15th, 1984. There's Diana with toddlers, Prince William and Prince Harry at a piano. With 2 kids and newly married, Diana and Charles seemed happy as Diana's popularity kept growing as being Princess of Wales. Between the years of 1981 and 1984, Prince Charles and Princess Diana were at the happiest in their marriage. This period, Diana was doing all that was required for her duty as the princess in the royal family. There we go, Diana in the palace with the Queen and the Mayor of London. Attending numerous public events with Prince Charles, Diana was heavily involved in the home that the royal family lived for centuries. Diana made her first tour with the royal family soon after she got married to Charles in 1981 and continued doing royal tours with the royal family throughout the world. There's Princess Diana in Japan. I think that's Japanese president, I think. But Diana was a bit different to your typical princess in the royal family. Why the royal family were higher ups in the Illuminati and very, very right-wing, Diana was for the people and it came from her heart. She did do things separately as well as at the time. Having to live up to her royal family duties, she was heavily involved in numerous charities, helping hospitals, disadvantaged schools, helping in areas around Britain and the world that were full of poverty and crime. I think that's Diana in Africa, starving kids in Africa, with a smile on her face. She liked helping the unprivileged. Also made a major dedication to helping drug addicts and publicly campaigned for AIDS awareness and helping animal charities for animal protection, as well as helping kids that had numerous disabilities and learning disabilities. This was a first for a member of the royal family to do this. The royal family would speak about charities, but that was just for publicity. Diana was very sincere about it and really wanted to help and change things around the world. There's Princess Diana helping some disabled kids. Very kind of her. Diana had a kind of opposite personality to Charles and the rest of the royal family. In public, everything seemed okay with Diana and Charles, but come 1985, the problems behind the public eye began to emerge. Sorry, I stuttered there. Chapter 3: The Marriage Breakdown. Man, fucking throat. It was proved throughout the years Diana was wearing separate clothes that weren't worn by other members of the royal family. Diana's kind of fashion was putting on a Madonna-type image. As you see, she's dressed pretty sexy there in a nice tight black outfit. I'd like to fuck her like that. This upset the royal family that they took their tradition very seriously, especially clothes that they wear. Diana was creating a new different image separate from the royal family tradition, as it was the opposite for Prince Charles, who was born into the royal family and never wanted to break their tradition or oath that they lived by. With that problem in 1985 came loads of others, as Diana was sometimes separating herself from the royal family and attending separate events, usually for charities, and raising money to help sick kids from the poorest areas throughout the world. There's Diana helping, I think, a little kid with cancer at his hospital bed. I think this uneased the royal family, as they were more right-wing and about helping the monarchy and the big public sports events and the traditional events throughout the year, which is true. That's all they're interested in, these big fucking sports events like the Olympics and fucking, all these major events, you know what I mean? Not interested in what's going on. They say they are, but they're not. It's all this bullshit about children in fucking need and all that, raising money for charity. How do they fuck? They just do it in camera, just to get the names out there. This Make-A-Wish Foundation, alright, it's all bullshit. Don't buy into the bullshit that you hear on BBC. It's all fucking bullshit. Don't give a fuck about us. Instead of helping the oppressed and working class minorities, royal family and the Illuminati were really the ones causing all these problems throughout the world. Reptile eyes, that fucking bitch, the Queen, member of the Illuminati. Fucking die, bitch! Where most of the world were living in working class lives, the royal family were all out for the Illuminati and the small percentage of rich people in the world to just help themselves. Instead of Diana was not pretending but trying to help the world's problems straight from her heart, instead of false messages by the royal family saying they were for the people, instead of really they were for the oath and the Illuminati. And that's true. Don't give a fuck what anyone says about it. Want to say anything about it? Fucking here. I'm here. You know what I mean? Want to argue with me about it? I'll smash your fucking face in. You know what I mean? That's what I believe in. Motherfuckers. By the royal family saying they were for the people instead of really the oath of the Illuminati. From 1985, Prince Charles and Diana's marriage started to break down. Come 1985, Charles started cheating on Diana with his old lover, Camilla Parker Bowles. There is fucked up Prince Charles with that posh slut, Camilla Parker Bowles. Diana suspected this and knew Charles had more love for Camilla than Diana, probably cause Diana's personality was nothing like Charles. It was opposite from Camilla, who was more like Charles, more of a stuck-up bitch and a right-wing slut. As years passed by in the public eye, everything seemed okay with Prince Charles and Princess Diana's marriage. When out of the public eye, everything was far from okay, even though they appeared in loads of public events across the world in the mid to late 80s, constantly followed by paparazzi, smiling together, looking okay. Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles' relationship got more serious, and Charles was spending a lot more time with Camilla than his real wife, Diana. Diana being blanked out by the royal family, and Charles started becoming isolated, spending a lot of days. Diana being isolated, spending a lot of days on her own in Kensington Palace. As at first Diana seemed bigger and more popular than the royal family. This made Prince Charles jealous, and part of his own open relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles probably was to get back at Diana. Now, if Diana, that was going to get jealous. Diana from 1986 started developing severe bulimia, yeah, a form of depression. There's Diana looking a bit depressed. It became worse when Diana found out that Prince Charles actually slept with Camilla a day before their wedding in 1981. Diana numerous times tried to commit suicide by throwing herself down the stairs and trying to drink herself to death. There's Princess Diana in the 80s, head down, looking very depressed. I think as a way as Diana getting back at Charles, Diana started having affairs of her own, as well as still doing her usual charity work, working with homeless people, and started working with people with depression and people with troubled marriages that were similar to what Diana was suffering from at the time. Diana had affairs with James Hewitt as a well-known English rugby player and an art dealer and even her bodyguard. Diana and the rugby player, when they had an affair in the late 80s. Diana and Charles, come the late 80s, were living separate lives as everything in the public eye seemed to be normal between them. It was far from it. Diana's bulimia was getting worse, not just because of Charles, the fact that she was the most famous woman in the world, and wherever Diana went she was constantly harassed by paparazzi. The only privacy Diana ever had was in Kensington Palace, where she would continue to self-harm. Everything on television and newspaper, their relationship seemed normal in the public eye. There was no exposure from their marriage stated going downhill that did start going downhill come 1985, till eventually their problems became public in 1992. By 1992 their marriage was at an all-time low. They basically split up before this time, with Charles being heavily in love with Camilla Parker Bowles, and Diana having dates of her own probably to get back at Charles. 1992, Diana was at the end of her tether. Her mental state was at its worst. Behind the media, the royal family and the couple of their friends that were close were destroying Diana's name and her personality, saying between them that she should go to hospital for treatment. In some cases, that made Diana go to hospital as part of Charles and the Queen's blackmail to her, saying she would not see her kids William or Harry if she did not go into hospital. Diana felt like a prisoner held captive by the royal family in Kensington Palace. Only Diana's close friends knew. Until 1992, Diana was going to release various audio tapes explaining her dysfunctional marriage to Charles and the mistreatment she had been suffering at the hands of the royal family. There's that famous magazine, the Weekly People. Diana's Secrets came out in '92. That's basically what exposed everything. I can't remember, I was only 2 at the time. A lot of people around remember at that time. At first, in 1992, only a journalist close to Diana was allowed to listen to the audio tape. The journalist who got hold of Diana's secret tapes held the tapes in his office until Diana felt it would be safe for him and her to release them to the public. Somehow word got back to the royal family about these tapes, and they sent people to break into the journalist's office to retrieve the tapes, so they would not get out to the public. Journalists went to his office to find his office trashed and all the secret tapes Diana recorded gone, and discovered threatening letters telling him to stay away from Diana or else. For months to come, the journalist kept receiving threatening phone calls and realized his phone was being tapped. The tapes explained real evidence Diana showed about finding numerous letters and postcards to Charles with dirty and sexual comments from Camellia Parker Bowles. Diana in 1992 was anxious to get this story out to the public to expose all the problems she was having with Charles and Charles' ongoing relationship with Camilla. First person who was going to expose this was journalist turned author James Morton, who had various conversations with Diana, getting all the details together about all the problems going on behind the public eye, so James Morton could release a book about it. When James Morton got all these details from various meetings with Diana, that's James Morton with that famous book that he wrote, Diana, A True Story, sold quite a lot when it first came out. He decided to write and print the book in a secret location in Finland. James Norton knew this was a dangerous thing he was doing. That's why he wrote it in a secret location in Finland, so he knew he would be safe. Word quickly spread that this project that Morton was doing to the royal family, but at the same time it spreaded finally to the public that the book about Diana's troubles with the royal family was going to be released. This is the first time the public and the media got information about Diana's and Charles' marriage breakdown. That's been going on secretly behind the public eye for years, from 1985 up until 1992. The royal family was furious with Diana about her decision to release the book about her problems she was having with the royal family. By this time, Diana really truly broke the oath held by the royal family and secretly, as you should know, by the Illuminati. There's a queen looking like a miserable bitch. Haha. You fucking bitch. I hate the queen. I really do hate the queen. That personally, I hate her. You know what I mean? But Morton was tilted in pursuit, love, and realized on June 7th, 1992, the book quickly sold out in a couple of hours. Even though before the book got released, the royal family and British law ordered the big retail bookstores not to release it, but somehow they did. Andrew Morton's book, called Pursuit of Love, sold over 2 million copies in its first 2 months. By this time, Andrew Morton, like journalists before with Diana's secret tapes, constantly got death threats from letters and phone calls. After the book got released, Diana and Charles' problems got so bad they could not even stand being in the same room together, let alone in public. Morton's book affected the royal family's image so much even Princess Diana started in summer of 1992 getting death threats and having her phone tapped. That's a magazine finally exposed to the public. It's over. A lot of people around that time remember that magazine. January 1993, Diana and Charles' separation finally became official to the public. with Charles no longer living in Kensington Palace, but according to insiders, Charles had not been living there since 1988, but it was made official in the media and the public about their separation in January 1993. There's some document from the court about the divorce or separation. That picture I put in there. In September 1996, Diana and Charles finally, on urgement by the Queen on paper, got divorced. Chapter 4, Loose Cannon. That's the last chapter I'm doing, and then I'll come back for part 2. Over the years of leading up to Prince Charles and Princess Diana got separated, they were concerned in the royal family because of Princess Diana's popularity of her doing events, mainly charity ones, outside the royal family, and events with the royal family she was doing, which the royal family would not usually do. There's Diana making an important speech at a centre point, helping young people, vulnerable young people in crisis. Like being sincere about the words and actions to helping the ill and poor and disadvantaged and everyday problems in the world created by the Illuminati, which the royal family was a part of. I think years leading up to Diana's death, she found out their oath was for a big pyramid of the elite. The 12 parties that have run the world and destroyed it with war and drugs and fake beliefs in God and religions for centuries, even maybe in the BC years, in the Egyptian times. We're not getting into that shit about how the Illuminati started. That's a picture of the Illuminati and all the fuckers and the members of it. The Pope, Kanye West, Beyonce, Queen, Jay-Z. Jay-Z, die slow. My phone make sure all your kids don't grow. The kings and queens of Britain who have been in power for hundreds or not even thousands of years have got a strict oath required. Anyone who stands up against the oath will be taken out. There's some kids in Cuba. Drones kill innocent children like us. I think that's in Cuba or Haiti or something. Let alone a princess who is a member of the royal family going in a different direction and doing opposite what they were doing. They considered this a major threat, and an even bigger threat was Diana's growing popularity. She was becoming, in later years, became bigger than the royal family. When Charles and Diana split up in January 1993, she was more popular than the royal family when she really became to distance herself from it. This never ever happened with someone being more popular to the public outside the royal family. Even if she was half outside the royal family, because she was the mother to Prince William and Harry, it was still at first a major threat to their reputation and the future of their long-lived oath. After Diana and Charles separated in 1993, Diana went quiet for most of that year. She distanced herself from the royal family and the public, who before watched her every move. In 1993, as Diana went quiet, she started becoming more happier and started recovering from years of torture with her illness, bulimia. To become strong again, when she did come back, she'd be more stronger than ever. Diana did come back in the public eye later in 1993, as the whole society was changing. More anti-establishment and anti-heroes of the world were getting respected by most of the population, and Diana was right in the thick of it. There's Diana with new president Nelson Mandela, after he served 30 years in jail, became president of South Africa. Helped bring a voice to the once voiceless, during numerous visits across the world, which in her heart she was sincere about, to the ill, poor kids of the Middle East and Africa. She was seen numerous times being very sincere in helping them with her separation from the royal family and her larger and life popularity. She was able to do more of these works and succeed more at it, giving the hopeless across the world hope. Diana there with some poor kids in South America, I think. She also helped fund charities across the UK to get alcoholics and drug addicts getting clean. During the early 90s and mid-90s, drug abuse and alcohol abuse was at an all-time high, while the charities Diana was funding was getting people off drugs and alcohol in the UK when it was at an all-time high. There's Princess Diana in a youth centre, I think, juvenile centre for young drug abusers, alcohol abusers. I've been there. I just got clean myself. It's clear come 1994, Diana was making a lot of changes that were more to the left, not just in the UK, but around the world. These were campaigns funded by Diana, which she was doing separate from the royal family, that started making differences around the world, campaigning at hospitals for better medical systems, visiting schools that were plagued by crime and gang violence and drug-ridden areas, and heavily campaigned for AIDS awareness and animal protection, especially stray dogs and dogs who could cure human mental illness like depression and ADHD and learning disabilities. There's Diana with a dog and a child. Dogs do that. Dogs do cure things like that. I've got a dog. Done that to me. Plus her controversial campaigns questioned the government's decision to go to war, including the British and American government, which mostly were perpetuating wars across the world, which were the royal family were very supportive of, and Diana wasn't even curating to the Illuminati, even more concerned about Diana and how much of a loose cannon to them she was becoming. Diana did these campaigns with very popular celebrities and public figures who were also against the oath and the Illuminati, like Michael Jackson, and became friends with Mother Teresa during numerous events with her in the crime-ridden area in New York in the Bronx. There's Michael Jackson holding up his three platinum records he did in the 1980s. Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad. There's Diana congratulating him. Diana was the highest ever charity, I mean literally charity, no bullshit, charity that a lot of the world are, which biggest ever fundraiser charity that actually helped people ever. In December 1995 in New York, Diana won a Nobel Peace Prize. There's Diana with flowers when she won a Nobel Peace Prize in 1995. A month prior to Diana winning this Nobel Peace Prize, November 1995, Diana sat down with the BBC to do that infamous Panorama interview, which a lot of people, around that time would have seen that interview. In this interview, Diana opened up the world about her problems with the royal family, referring to them as the enemy, admitting she did have a long-time affair with the rugby player James Hewitt, and also said she never wants to be the Queen. There's Diana with a tense looking right in that Panorama interview. A lot of people have seen that interview, so yeah, people know what I'm talking about. She wanted to go beyond the royal family's power by being an ambassador around the world. She explained about her suffering from bulimia since from 1985 to 1992 and her recovery from it after splitting up from Prince Charles in 1993. She made it clear in this interview directed at the royal family that she would never back down and would continue what she would continue to do regardless of what dangers there would be. Diana made it clear in this interview she would become a world leader and would want her sons William and Harry to follow in the famed footsteps as instead of Prince Charles' footsteps, which were strict rules to follow the oath of the royal family, which Diana was allowed to look after Williams and Harry. She'd take them around the world to show them firsthand what charity she was doing. There's Diana taking young Prince Harry and probably 12-year-old Prince William around the world. In 1996, she won Humanitarian Award in the US, among others. In May 1996, shortly before divorce to Charles was going to be official, Diana started dating heart surgeon Hazmit Khan, who was from Pakistan and religion was Muslim. Their relationship throughout 1996 was getting serious. Even talks about them having a family. This could not be accepted by the royal family. They could not have any Muslim in the family. Certainly not for them to be accepted in the royal family. There's Diana wearing a Muslim t-shirt. I don't know why she's doing that. With Yasmit Khan, I don't support that. I'm not for the Muslims. Because of this, Hazmat Khan felt some kind in danger and called the relationship off come May 1997, and Diana wanted them to get engaged. Diana was very upset by this, calling Hazmat the love of her life. Diana kept phoning Hazmat to get back with him, but Hazmat knew his life would be in danger if he kept seeing Diana. After splitting up with Hazmat, Diana embarked on a more serious relationship than she had with Hazmat with another Muslim, Dodi Fayad. This relationship definitely would be the icing on the cake for Diana. And there's Diana and Dodi Fayad on holiday in summer '97 on a cruise. The other icing on the cake was Diana's public protest in January 1997 against landmines in Angola and other places around the world. These landmines were a new form of weapon used for wars, which the Illuminati and royal family perpetrated it to create wars and go with their ultimate plans to destruct the world even more. The Queen and other royal families publicly spread out that Diana was a loose cannon because of this, because of her protest towards mine. Right, that's part 1. Assassination plan, chapter 5 coming up. I'll be back in about 10 minutes.